I came across a Facebook post that prompted me to make a Facebook post in this particular group. There are some authors out there that think that self-published authors are the, failures of the trad pub group. Or they think, oh, well, if you fail at querying agents and whatever, then you go to self-pub, right? So that's what some think. I had a podcast. Technically, it's on hiatus, but who knows if I'll actually reinstate it again. I had a podcast that we talked about. I talked to authors. I talked to authors from all paths. I talked to one that had a 7-figure book deal. I talked to authors that went with, smaller publishers. I talked to authors who had self-published. I talked to some who were hybrid, which means they self-published some and they queried for others. So I had talked to authors from all walks of life: poetry, fiction, nonfiction, all the things. And I had kind of, we would always start off with, the name of the podcast was Freya's Fairy Tales. So we would start off with their favorite fairy tale. And then we would go into, how long it took them, when they started writing at all, whether that was short stories or whatever. Were they a kid in school? Was it as it got older? Whatever the case, that's where we started. And then it was, how long did it take you when you started writing your first full-length novel that got finished? How long did that take you? When you typed the end, what did you do next? So that is kind of the process that I went during the podcast. That is how we kind of structured it. And every single episode, I would start off with the exact same questions. And then depending on their answers to those questions, we would go further into the rest of the process. So I come across a Facebook post that was basically talking about how they had queried and been rejected 20 times, and so they have decided to now self-publish. So I put up a post in this same group, and I was saying, after having talked to all those authors, the podcast ran for nearly 2 years. I talked to every single week. I was talking to authors and watching authors on various social media channels and stuff like that. So I knew that I wanted to self-publish. Am I completely against trad publishing? No, you do you. Whatever path you think is right for you, go for it. I am type A, and I like to be able to control things. I am also what I have heard referred to as neurospicy. My brain does not function normally, whatever that means. So my internal dialogue of my characters, there's going to be repetition. It's going to be real. Think in The Forgotten Beast, my first book. Callie wakes up in a prison world. She repeats things sometimes, because I'm like, if I was dropped and I woke up in a snowy world and my feet were freaking cold and I'm in my pajamas and I'm running from a wolf and my heart's pounding. Granted, I have some pretty vivid dreams that the heart pounding thing does happen, but if that happened to me, I would be repeating, what is happening? What is going on? Why am I here? What is this world? You're going to repeat things. And so I chose to self-publish. Now, I chose to self-publish, but from the beginning, I made an LLC, and then I made a little logo. Enchantments and Fancies is my LLC, and I made this little logo. You can't really read it, and it's backwards, but I made my little logo for my thing. You can probably read this one better. For my thing, because I wanted it to feel legit. And I know that I will not always be publishing as Freya Victoria. I have some plans for a YA series that I would publish under my other pseudonym that I narrate under. And so I wanted to have the freedom to be able to look legit without it being, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but some authors just put self-published, or they will put their name or something in that publisher spot. I wanted to have a publisher name in that publisher spot, and so that is what I did. So, self-publishing is not all just failed attempts to get traditionally published. Some of us choose to start here and have our hand in every step of the way and pay for every step of the way. I had an alpha reader. What that means is I had someone that took my book, and I first draft, and then I ran it through a software called Pro Writing Aid that kind of like grammar and spelling checks it. She got that version of my book, and she took that and she read it, and then she told me there were 2 characters that were not in it enough, Mason and Huxley. So I added Mason and Huxley scenes to the book. Then I ran it back through Pro Writing Aid, and then I sent it to beta readers. I found my beta readers. My alpha reader was my best friend who reads a lot, still is my best friend. But anyways, beta readers, I went on to TikTok. I have been a narrator for nearly 3 years now, and I have built a group of people that love books, that like listening to my narration. And so I put out a call on my narrator and my author pages saying, I need beta readers. This is what my book is about. This is the tropes and triggers included in my book. You can Google what that means. Tropes is, I don't know, Google what it means. Anyways, I included the tropes and triggers that were in the book, and I asked for people. I had like I had 9 apply. I chose 7. I knew I wanted at least 5. I chose 7, and 5 of them were able to finish it. 2 of them had life get in the way. I knew that was going to happen, so I really wanted 5, so I chose extras because I knew some were going to have life happen. It went to them. They go through it. They tell me inconsistencies in the book. Hey, the character's hair changed color, or hey, the character's outfit changed, or hey, I actually caught this one myself, but this is something a beta reader could have caught. At one point, the phone was in the living room, and the next morning, it was in the bedroom. That's an inconsistency. So they catch things like that. Hey, you described this differently, a couple paragraphs ago, or whatever. Like, they catch things like that. Or, hey, this sentence doesn't really make sense at all. Or, things like that. That's what my beta readers catch. Other people use them differently. That's what I use them for. Then made those changes. Then went through Pro Writing Aid again. And then my editor got it. And my editor does all the grammar and the spelling. And she did catch a couple. At one point, they're in the prison world, which does not have electricity. And the electric lights were on in the hallway. And she's like, hey, there's no electricity in this world. What are you doing? So I had to change it to the torchlight instead. But things like that. So I did go through what I think should be every stage of the process for everybody. There are definitely editors out there that are not great at their jobs. There are definitely writers out there that are not great at their jobs. There are all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, if you have readers that want to read your story, you should write your story. You can do as little or as much of the writing process. I have definitely read all kinds of edited levels of books in the past. I have had a Scribd, which is now Everend subscription for several years. Prior to narrating, I would read everything. So I have read a hot mess of things and some very, very well done things. And you know what? I've also read hot mess tradpub stuff. So it is not exclusive to self-publishing to have issues in the manuscript. But all of that to say, self-publish is not always the I failed, so we're going to do it this way thing. And I hope you guys have a good day.